Hi, this is Shoshanah Shear of beahappymom.com. And some of you might know, some of my viewers might know that I've been an occupational therapist now since the end of 1990. And in this video, I wanted to share a little bit of a story from some of my work experience that I've had the opportunity to work with clients throughout the entire life cycle. That means that I've had the opportunity to learn and to gain a tremendous amount at each different stage of the development of human development as we progress through each of the different milestones, through each of the different phases in life. It gives me the opportunity to take what my experience is from the different phases of working with clients to be able to take back to other clients. So those that I work with more recently gain tremendously from my experience from years previously, both from my own experience and from working with clients at different stages. So that might sound like a little bit of a riddle, and let's unpack it so that you can understand it a little bit more clearly. I was thinking a little bit over the last couple of days about some of my clients that I've worked with towards the end of their lives, as they're facing going into old age homes, going into retirement villages, facing the end of their life. These are clients who are in their 80s and 90s. And some of the women that I've worked with particularly come to mind. I think about a delightful old lady that I worked with in one of the hospitals that I was an occupational therapist working in. And this particular lady, her face used to light up every time that I approached her bed and I came to not just to visit her, but to work with her. And she had quite a lot of physical pain, some physical discomfort that she was going through with a certain medical condition that she experienced, and some difficulties and challenges in trying to decide where would she go post-discharge. We were hoping that she would be able to be discharged, and we were looking at whether, quite clearly, it was becoming difficult for her to be able to consider returning to her own home. So the question was, would she go to an old aged home? Would she go move somewhere near her daughter? Would she go into an assisted living facility? There were a number of concerns and a number of thoughts going into where she'd go post-discharge. But with every session, she would start off with telling me how grateful she was with the years that she'd had, how many years she'd been fortunate to spend with the love of her life. She married the person that she was very much in love with, married young in life. She was able to share so many moments that she appreciated, times that she spent with her daughter, her enjoyment in watching her grandchildren growing up. And again, she came up with a lesson that she wanted to share with everybody, that do whatever you can to make sure that you don't let love slip through your fingers, that you marry the right person, marry young, build your family, and let that be your focus. This was a message that she had every time that I came to begin a session working with her. And for her, very much, even though she had physical pain, she was so filled with gratitude for a long life, many moments that were so meaningful for her, that filled her with so much appreciation, with so much a sense of calmness, a sense of that she'd accomplished what it was that she wanted to in her life. And so grateful for her children and her grandchildren and the potential to be able to live wherever it would be, whether it be an assisted living, whether it be in an old aged home. She didn't mind what the actual place was, as long as that she could see her daughter regularly, and that she could continue to just share her moments and her thoughts of appreciation for the life that she'd lived. And I contrast those experiences, those moments, those conversations that I had with her with some of my other clients, some women that I worked with who's sometimes in getting to meet extended members of the family of the patients that I'd worked with. Some children or grandchildren would say to me how disappointed they were, or frustrated, or how hard it was to visit their grandmother in hospital and be reminded constantly of certain disappointments that the grandmother had. For example, one lady, she also was fortunate to marry the love of her life and to marry younger in life. But for her, her first child was born at a time that wasn't convenient for her for various reasons. There were other events happening in her life that for her were what her priority was, and she didn't want to be thinking about and focusing on her child at that time. And this was a grudge and a difficulty that she carried throughout her years, and it impacted not only on the life of her child, but on the life of her grandchildren also. And that's a tremendous shame. I think about also some of the babies that I took care of when I was just 16 years old, and I was working in the maternity wing, feeding the premature babies. A number of them the mothers were able to be discharged before the baby was able to go home, and that was quite normal and quite healthy. But for some of these babies, unfortunately, the mother had moved on to wherever she'd gone to and left the baby on its own in the hospital, and who knows what would have happened to the baby. It was up to the team to make the decision. And I was never privy to know what would be happening with this little baby that I would take care of each for a certain amount of time, as I did my hour of feeding the prem babies. And once again, I think about the fact that some mothers decide that the baby has come into their life at a time that's not convenient for them, and they just abandon the baby in the hospital. And that's really also is quite a shame. And so I want to do a little bit of an appeal to women. Many a time we don't plan when the first child or any of the children would be coming into our lives, and whether one does become a mother or one doesn't become a mother. The point that I'd like to express is that the events that take place in our lives do have an impact on the progression of our life and how we're going to be facing that end phase of our life. The end phase, of course, is not always when we're in our 80s or 90s. Some people do reach the end of their life much, much earlier. Like I know one of my grandfathers left this world when he was only 35. And recently in the news, we've been reminded of this kind of situation with 2 women who lost their lives just recently in car accidents. It's so sad to see a woman in the prime of her life, just with her developing family, and there she unfortunately loses her life in an unfortunate car accident. And it's always so hard for the team to have to pick up and try to build up whichever relatives are left behind who've survived the car accidents. I always prefer to do prevention, and so my appeal is, when you're starting your married life and you're starting to have children, to think quite clearly when that first child comes into your life, and to remember that the reason that a baby comes into this world is not because of the baby. It's not the baby's fault. It's certain actions that the parents have been involved in that have resulted in a conception, resulted in a pregnancy, and resulted in that pregnancy being viable and coming to bring that new baby, that new life into this world. And really, it's our responsibility as adults to be able to care for these babies and to help them, to assist them with their education, with their growth, with their development, with whatever needs they have in order to navigate this world successfully, to be able to grow into, hopefully, into the types of people that will be contributing to our society. And all of that begins with the mindset of the parents. So my first tip to you is, when you're holding your baby for the first time, or for the first weeks, the first months, the first year of that baby's life, to think quite clearly that this is a gift that you've been blessed with, that you have the opportunity to nurture and to help and support this new life, to ease the child through their life and their stages of development, and never to bear a grudge against the baby. It's not the baby's fault. It's whatever actions that you were involved in that led to a new life coming into this world. So first and foremost, to get one's mindset right and to have our mindset in keeping with being a healthy and effective mother to your child throughout their life, and the next generation hopefully will come too. Because if you're going to be holding a grudge against your child for their whole life, that has an impact on the child, it has an impact on the next generation, and it has an impact on whoever that child is going to interact with. So to get mindset is a very important aspect of our health and our wellness, and that would be the starting point, to recognize that you've been blessed with a baby and the responsibility of assisting and guiding this baby as they grow through the various stages of development, and to assist that baby and to do so with grace and with kindness and compassion. And if there are any areas of being a mother that's difficult, not to hold a grudge against the baby, God forbid, but to rather put in the effort to identify what is it that you need to know in order to be a happy mother, in order to be an effective mother, in order to guide and care for your child effectively. So what is it that you need to learn? What is it that you need to prepare? Is it a financial difficulty that you're having that leads to that little bit of reluctance to give effectively to your baby? Is it your living environment? What is it that's keeping you from giving wholeheartedly to your baby? So do a little bit of introspection and spend some time and think about what is it that you need in order to be a happy mother, in order to be an effective mother. Some mothers that I've worked with, I've discovered that their difficulty comes from the fact that they didn't have the financial means. They were not yet ready and hadn't budgeted to be able to provide basic necessities that all babies need, whether it's the high chair that a baby's going to need as it starts to sit, whether it's the right toys, the right baby equipment that's necessary, the appropriate bath, all of these things that are necessary in order for a baby to thrive and to grow and develop effectively. So what are the things that you need, and what is it that's standing in your way? If it is a financial need, do you have support either with your family, with your community? Are there any people that you could turn to, that you could appeal to for some assistance? That's on the one hand of getting some more assistance from your community or your family and your friends. Another extremely important area for you to concentrate on and to consider is what else could you do to be able to level up your income. Many of us come to various phases in our lives where we have to start to put in the effort and to consider what can we do. Our lives have changed. Some variable has come into our life and we need to be leveling up our income. In today's time, we're very fortunate that there are so many articles available online. There's so many videos available online that it is possible to learn either how to develop a side hustle or how to be starting to learn to work from home, to work independently, to take a little bit more responsibility for our financial situation and our financial goals, in order that we can be able to set those goals for ourselves and say, now I'm needing to be able to earn enough, not just to take care of myself, but to take care of this new baby, this new child, this new addition to my family. And once you start to break it down and to realize that it's not the baby that's at fault, life has given you a gift. And what are you going to do to rise to the occasion to be able to take care of this beautiful baby to the best of your ability? So those are just a couple of thoughts, and I hope that it helps some of you women or any of you viewers. If you have other questions, do put a question in the comments below, and I'll be happy to answer that question for you to the best of my ability. And if you'd like another video of this nature, do let me know. I'll be happy to put some thought together and see what we could do to help you to be able to focus on those positive moments in your life, so that when you reach the end of your life, when you reach hopefully your 80s and your 90s, and you reflect back on your life, you're able to say, that was a life well lived. I'm grateful for the family I have. I'm grateful for these different stages of development that I've been through, and the lessons that I can be able to impart to my family and my friends and whoever it is that lives, that I'm leaving behind. And you can be able to reflect back and say, yes, I did achieve the goals that I wanted to, and I did so graciously, and I did so effectively, and I was able to give to my children and my grandchildren. Hopefully you'll have grandchildren also, and to be able to say, yes, it was wonderful to be a mother, or it was wonderful to be a wife, or whatever the life roles are that you have, to look back on your life and say, thank you, I'm grateful that I lived through this world, through this life, and I've reached the stage that I have reached. So that's Shoshanah Shear from beahappymom.com with a couple of thoughts for you.